There's been a big expansion in the burden of government spending this decade. During the Bush years, the federal budget soared from $1.8 trillion to $3.5 trillion. Obama, meanwhile, is trying to be Bush on steroids, pushing through $800 billion of so-called stimulus right after taking office, and then asking for several hundred billion of additional spending in his first budget. And if his plan for government-run health care is adopted, that'll seem like pocket change, and America will quickly degenerate into becoming a European-style welfare state. Is this growth of government a good idea? In this Center for Freedom and Prosperity video, we're going to analyze the economic impact of government spending. I'm Dan Mitchell of the Cato Institute. There are 8 ways that government spending can undermine economic performance. Reason 1 is the extraction cost. The federal government cannot spend money without first taking that money from someone. All of the options used to finance government spending have adverse consequences. Taxes discourage work, saving, and investment and reduce competitiveness. Borrowing diverts capital from productive private investment. And printing money, as demonstrated by places such as Argentina and Zimbabwe, is a recipe for disaster. Reason 2 is the displacement cost. Government spending diverts money from the private sector, and every dollar that the government spends means one less dollar in the productive sector of the economy. This means that labor and capital are being misallocated. If someone like Steve Jobs is a government bureaucrat, he obviously isn't being an entrepreneur in the private sector. And if resources are being used to build a bridge to nowhere, those resources clearly are not available to create things valued by consumers. Reason 3 is the negative multiplier cost. Many programs in the budget are used to finance activities that have a strongly negative effect on economic activity. Regulatory agencies, for instance, usually have comparatively small budgets, but they impose large costs on the economy's productive sector. The IRS is a perfect example. It costs taxpayers about $10 billion, which is a good chunk of change, but that is trivial compared to the economic damage caused by the tax code it enforces. Reason 4 is the behavioral subsidy cost. Many government programs encourage bad behavior. Welfare subsidizes people to choose leisure over work. Unemployment insurance programs provide an incentive to be out of the job market. And when people decide to be unproductive in order to get money from the government, economic output obviously shrinks. Reason 5 is the behavioral penalty cost. Government programs often discourage economically desirable decisions. Saving is a good thing. It helps to provide capital for new investment. Yet the incentive to save in our economy has been undermined by government programs that subsidize things like retirement, housing, health care, and education. Reason 6 is the market distortion cost. Competitive markets determine prices in a process that ensures the most efficient allocation of resources. However, in sectors of our economy, such as healthcare and education, government subsidies to reduce out-of-pocket expenses have created a third-party payer problem that has led to rising prices and huge inefficiencies. Reason 7 is the inefficiency cost. Except in this case, we're not talking about government programs that undermine efficiency in the private sector. We're looking at services and activities directly provided by government, such as K-12 education, airports, and postal operations. There is a wealth of evidence from other nations that the private sector could provide these important services at higher quality and lower cost, thus helping our economy grow faster. Last but not least, reason 8 is the stagnation effect. Because of competition and the desire to increase income and wealth, individuals and businesses in the private sector constantly search for new options and opportunities to be more productive. Government programs, however, are inherently inflexible. Heck, the post office or any motor vehicles department would be good, or should I say bad, examples of this phenomenon. Now, time for some caveats. The preceding list only looks at costs. And as much as I hate to admit it, there are some government programs that generate benefits. Economists often talk about public goods, which refer to tangible things such as roads, to institutional characteristics such as the rule of law and property rights. These are things provided by government that, if done properly, help facilitate private sector economic activity. In the academic literature, public finance experts often draw a distinction between capital spending, transfer spending, and consumption spending. Capital spending can be for physical capital, such as sewage systems, and human capital, such as education, and economists generally agree that this type of spending is most likely to generate at least some benefits, though corruption and special interest political deal-making often mean the net effect turns out to be negative. There is very little debate, by contrast, about transfer spending and consumption spending. These are the programs, such as entitlements and subsidies and pork barrel projects, that have both extraction costs and displacement costs, and often many of the other costs we mentioned as well. And since these types of spending rarely, if ever, encourage productive behavior, there are no offsetting benefits to those high costs. You probably won't be surprised to know that a huge share of the federal budget goes for those types of spending, and it's getting worse every year. On that cheerful note, let's bring this to a close. On behalf of the Center for Freedom and Prosperity, thanks for taking some time to better understand a critical issue. Please share this video.